Hey guys, welcome back to another Six Sages Gaming video. Today I'm joined by Jamie and we have another set review for you, Water. And I am so excited for this because I think it's just got a bunch of amazing cards. So thank you again to Jamie for joining me this morning.
No problem. Thanks a lot for having me again.
Yep, so to kick things off, since we're both a little bit crunched for time, so we might be skipping through along these, but we're going to kick it off with Blue Mage. Just a pass on this one. I really don't even want to spend that much time talking about it. I love Blue Mage as a class, but I don't think that this card is going to get much love. It's just too situational and too high costed for what it does, really.
Yeah, I think it's the best of the new mages, but that's not saying much because they're all terrible. It's kind of like Mog's effect, right? But Mog is better in almost every way other than the fact it's 1 CP more. So, big pass.
Right. I mean, you also have to have Aiko to draw the card, but I'm still playing Mog over this. So I guess, yeah, that's... going into another Moogle, or I just call him Filter Moogle, because that's really what he is. You know, this card isn't going to be like a 3 of, or probably even a 2 of in a lot of situations, but I can see it making a 1 of in some water lists, just to have a way to filter out some extra cards, or to really dig for something if you need to.
I like the fact it says Moogle, and that's about it. The effect is okay. There are lists that will like this, but no list that I play will like this effect very much. So I'm not too fussed about it. But if you're playing something with either wind or lightning, where the Moogles are really good for that, and there's a lot of synergy, then play this card. That's fine. Just for the fact that it's a Moogle.
I also do like the fact it can give us a little bit more love going back to the... I mean, I don't think this deck popped up in Opus 2. Maybe it did. We can go back to the idea of Opus 1 where we had the Emperor plan just in case if you draw extras, but now you can run 3 of the Opus 1 Emperor and then 1 or 2 of the Dark, and you just have this as another way to filter. It's still dangerous, don't get me wrong, but it gives you another out, so to speak, from your hand getting clogged. So I'll give it a little yay there.
I played that list in when they released the starter decks in Opus 2, but I found that Zidane is just so much better than Emperor that you're just hurting yourself by playing it instead of Zidane, I think.
True.
Especially in Water, where you're playing Steiner anyway, always.
Steiner is good people, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
The best water summon or best summon in the game, I don't know. That might be a little bit much, but Fanfor is just an absurd card. And the fact that we have Yuna, which is already going to be played, 2-drop Yuna, I should clarify. Making this a 2-drop effect is silly. And I know the immediate thought that someone had was this in Golbez. If you get that to work, power to you. Maybe you can make some water... there was water Golbez decks back in Opus 1 for like Cloud of Darkness and stuff. I think it has some cheeky value there, but I think that this is just otherwise a very solid card that Yuna is absolutely going to love to see.
Yeah, it doesn't even read. It reads good, but it doesn't read as good as it actually plays. You really need to actually have this card in your hand and realize how broken it is. And there's so many ways you can just abuse it. If you've got more forwards on the board than your opponent, then you can attack and either force them to block or not block. They take a damage. Then you can Fanfor it and get rid of the attacker that's now tapped, and they have to get rid of a blocker.
Yep.
Or they, there are so many crazy combos that just can't happen now, like X-Def Capricious that, won my nationals. If they do that, and then I just go turn 1, play Yuna, discard a card, play Fanfor it, you're so far behind. It's so good. Most water lists should play it at least 2, but I would say there's not many water lists that shouldn't play 3 because it's just kind of like a mega Leviathan. And then play Leviathan anyway because it synergizes well because you can bounce the forward that isn't very good and then force them to Fanfor their good one and kill it. It's really good. I have nothing but praise for this card. And from what I think, it's probably the best summon in the game in chapters as well, and it hasn't changed.
Right, I think that's also a good note too. Is I think we both talked to Ban at different times, and he was saying like just how good this card was in chapters and saw play for just about forever. And then they didn't change it. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. I'm, again, very, very excited for it either way. So I'll take it as it is. I wanted some more cards for water. Moving on to some more ninjas, we have Izayoi, I believe is how you say that. Jamie, I'll just give this one to you to start if you want to.
I don't particularly, because I'm not that big of a fan of a ninja deck, but I'm not even. What ninjas are there in water? Would you play water in a ninja deck?
Not currently, so I mean that's my immediate drawback to it.
Yeah, so I guess the only thing you play this for is the special, which is okay. This is a card that will eventually maybe be good. Currently, I wouldn't bother playing it anywhere really, unless I could think of a water ninja deck with either wind or fire. But if I was playing water and wind, I definitely wouldn't be playing ninjas. Same with water and fire. There's just better versions of those colors as decks. Right. Yeah, that's it really. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, feeling about the same for this one. It's nice that it lets you play something for free off of it, and it's an 8K, which can sometimes be hard for a 4-drop water card. And yeah, Illusions is just it's a very strong effect. So I'm wondering to see if that can ever end up doing something. So I might have to go back and look. I don't think there was any water ninjas, but now I'm gonna be kicking myself because I'm sure someone in the YouTube comments is gonna be like, "Hey, you forgot this card." Oops. But we'll see.
No, there is a single water ninja.
Okay, not crazy then. I always do enjoy these theme decks, and we have to think about this like Knights. Knights was kind of this thing in Opus 1 where it's like, oh hey, this might exist. Opus 2, then it finally kicked off, and we're getting even more support in Opus 3. So it's one of those things that just keep your eye on this card. When a new set comes out, be like, hey, do we get any more water ninjas? No? Okay, maybe this one sits in the binder a bit longer, but again, as Jamie said, I think this could see play down the road.
It's also worth noting that this doesn't say forward, right? So it's a bit like Ingus. If there is ever a ninja backup...
One job ninja card image. Oh.
Yeah, it could be pretty strong in that sense. Because playing a 3-drop backup with this would be powerful.
Well, there's a 2-drop Earth ninja backup, but I think there's not that many Earth-based ninjas. So I don't think that's enough to make it worth it playing. Like, you get a free backup out of it.
I still wouldn't play it now.
No. Yeah. Anywho, best common in the set, maybe?
No, there's one more, like more, yeah.
This card is just bonkers. And I know people are like, oh, it only searches for a 4 cost or less, which is still perfectly fine. And I love that we're playing water anyway. So if we really wanted to, we can it's only cost 2. We can put something on top of our deck, draw the card, so we can make sure we hit it, or we can just stack maybe a Leviathan on top, punish our opponent for attacking. Yes, this is only a 4K, which is fine for what it does. It's going to find you a summon and chump block, and that is perfectly fine to me. I think this card is just silly. Absolutely just silly.
So the only water summon currently in the game that this can't search for is Sildra, which is fine because you don't necessarily want to be searching for a non-EX card anyway, right?
Right.
You mainly use this when you're behind on board and you search for a Leviathan or a Fanfor. One of my favorite things to do is if my opponent does a crazy X-Death Capricious or Yang Ursula or the new Dawn Warrior thing, turn 1, I can just discard a card, play Ethereal Summoner, put a Fanfor on top of my deck. When they attack, I block the first thing, and then the next attack, they hit a Fanfor. And it just totally stops their aggression. And if they don't attack, then I draw a Fanfor and still cast it anyway.
Right.
So
yes, you still win that one, turns out.
Yeah, no matter what happens. Usually if you give your opponent a choice, it usually ends worse for you than them. But no matter what happens in that situation, it's pretty good. And it's a great target for Lenna as well, which we'll obviously come to later. But being a 4K isn't even that bad, because if you're playing things like Garnet, then it can get big fairly quickly, weirdly enough.
I mean, you can get it to a 6, and then if you're being cheeky with the 1-drop Leviathan, so there's a good note too. So at the time of this recording, we did have word from Ban that if you've been watching his page, so Ban's Final Fantasy Corner, if you guys haven't checked it out on Facebook, Mono Water has just been dominating over there, so this is kind of no surprise here. But what this also allows is to keep a cheeky one-drop Leviathan in the deck to give assuming you're playing Garnet and up to Waka, you can basically give your entire water forward team plus 4,000, I think is the highest you can go with that combination. And turning this into a 2-drop AK that just wants to attack and foundry that summon, that's perfectly fine as well. So this card has so much utility behind it that I would be shocked, I should say, if Waterless don't end up playing at least 2 of these going forward. You just have to make room for this card.
Yeah, good card.
So going to immediately the other end of the spectrum, we have Aiko. You can choose 4 summons in your break zone, add 1 of them to your hand, remove the rest from the game. No, I don't have anything nice to say about this. Why is it a hero? Like I can't even give this one anything.
Wow. Ironically, speaking of ban, he was telling me that he likes this card and he puts a 1-of in his deck.
Is he not running the 9 package then? Because let me back this up. My biggest problem with this is that it is named Aiko, and I'd almost rather always run the tutor. That's just kind of my impression of it.
You do. You run both. The thing is, when you're running 3 Steiner anyway, often you don't need Aiko. I found that quite a bit. That I might search for Aiko and just discard it for a Steiner, for a Zidane that's in my hand or something. But even if there wasn't that compromise where it's like, oh, do I not get to play the Searcher this game? I don't even like the effect that much. I don't actually care for it. There's only a few times that you're actually going to hit 4 summons anyway.
Right.
It just seems really situational, and I'd much rather run the new 4-drop summoner that does the exact same thing just straight away, without any restriction.
Oh, when it comes into play, you get to get a summon back. You mean that one? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just seems better to me because either you're sacking Aiko anyway to do it. So yeah, I don't really get the card, especially when they release a card that's very similar. Anyway, in the same set.
It's a 2-drop you can play early, so you can get value off of it until you need it. I guess is why it's a hero.
Yeah, I really like the art. I much prefer the art to the rare version, and that's the only draw I have to it.
Right, and speaking of the rare version, which I forgot is the next card. Yeah, so it's a searcher for a Category 9 forward. It kicks off your whole Steiner Zidane engine. It's obviously very good with VV. If someone can please make that card work, please. And 9 is just in a good spot for tutors, so I don't think we really need to spend a lot of time on this card itself.
No, it searches for Steiner, which then searches for other things, or Steiner can search for it, and then it can search for the other 9s. The whole Final Fantasy 9 package is just really strong. And if you're playing Water, you're almost definitely playing it. And that's it. That's all I have to say. It's really efficient. Just make sure you don't deck yourself out.
Yeah, I've come surprisingly close to a few games.
I actually have decked myself out many times.
No. A card that if we had sideboards, and I know I hate bringing that up, but it's just this game would obviously be different if we had sideboards, but there's some cards that just do not make the cut at all. But I could see a situation where this card could be good, but otherwise it's just a bit lacking. When it's best of 1, it's not going to maybe hit enough. But 2-drop Dancer has potential to make all your opponent or one of your forwards your opponent controls lose all abilities, which sure it's going to be nice for something like Golbez if you get rid of it that turn. But ultimately, I'm just not in love with this card given the deck space that it would take up.
So you're only really stopping like on death abilities or something like that, right? Or just active abilities.
Right.
You're not stopping something that's like an Ammon, or you're not stopping X Death, Grand Cross, or anything like that, because he can just do it in response to you tapping it.
Right.
So it's a bit weird. And also, it's a 3K, and I keep talking about how I don't like 3K forwards because there's so many things that kill them.
You can make it
just a big pass on me, for me, this card.
You can make it a 4K with Waka. Oh man, so playable. Oh no, okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but the fact is, it's just the difference between 3 and 4K naturally is huge.
Nope, I think we definitely agree on that one. And getting my favorite card in the water block, if you will, or at least favorite legendary, and it's two parts. Again, understanding that we're in water, we have all the tutor package goodness for water, so that you're gonna reliably get this card every single game when you want to get it. It's also very much worth noting that it can't be chosen by your opponent's summons, so they're not going to Hilder it, they're not going to Odin it. It can be a little bit difficult to get rid of, and we'll post a list in the description. You guys can see it, or just go to FFTCGmognet.com. You get to cast any 3 cost or less summon from your hand for 2 water without paying its cost. This is just one of those cards that, it's fine for the power ratio. 3/7 is fine where it's going to be at. It has the ability to pump your team, which is something water desperately needs, and it only gets better as we get more, specifically off-color summons that we'd want to play in this deck. So I just all around love this card and cannot wait to see what happens with it in the meta.
Garnet is without doubt my favorite card in Opus 3. I really like the playstyle of her. I like the deck building concessions you have to make. And I've been playing recently a deck with only 11 forwards, with 22 summons and Garnet. And the whole point of it is to protect Garnet and kill things. And it's great. You can splash. You can play mono water and then splash for Titan and splash for Cyclops. And if you use Cyclops when you have Garnet out for 2 water, it gives you a 4,000 power swing. That means your Ethereal Summoner can take out 8Ks. Like, actually just clean take them out if you have a Whacker out. That's crazy. She can't be targeted by summons, which there are so many summons that want to target this card.
Yep.
So the only things you ever have to worry about are things like Adia or Seymour, or like backup break effects, or...
Man, it's almost like you could put this in Wind Water and then use Legendary Aerith. I just want to live that dream. Let me have it.
Yeah, that seems like too many deck building concessions though, because I think people have been playing Garnet in decks that only have 9 summons, and that just seems like a waste to me. I'd rather run Ash, because I just think that's more relevant most of the time. Her ability to activate or use the special. But if you're playing Garnet, I feel like you need to have at least 12 summons, and preferably more, preferably like 15.
So that was going to be my next question. What do you think is the threshold for summons, and how many of those are... So let's not... I don't want to detract from this too much, but what would you say are your top 3 off-color summons that you want to run with this card?
Definitely Titan and Hecaton. Titan and Cyclops, and probably Hecaton, because Hecaton's just really good with it, because you can break an Anthem back up and do a 2K swing that way. But you want Titan purely because Garnet has just a massive target on her back, and there's no bigger blowout than if you're playing mono water and they do something to kill your Garnet and you discard a water card to play Titan.
That feels pretty good.
But I'd say the best card by far is Cyclops, because it's a 4K swing for 2 blue, 2 water. It's huge. That's really, really big. It basically allows you to constantly threaten combat in any way. You can block or attack, and your opponent is always afraid, because there's nothing that's gonna give a 4K swing to every forward on the board. Like Cthulhu is probably the best alternative, or an opposing Cyclops. But the opposing Cyclops is going to lose to your Cyclops if you have the Garnet. But I quite like going 15 to 18 summons with 15 to 19 forwards, if you're running a Garnet deck. I think that's a good spot to be in. But I think we could do a whole video about Garnet for about 20 minutes, and you'd still not get to the whole of it.
Right. So moving on from there, then we have Cognos, which is certainly an interesting card. If it tries to take damage on your opponent's turn, you can reduce it by 4,000. And then when he enters the field, all the forwards opponent control lose 1,000 power for every 2 water characters you control. Now, the important thing here that I missed the first time is that it is character. So it's going to count your backups as well. And I think very much to the point of when we've considered Garnet and having that like plus 1,000 power swing, this could certainly find itself a home in a mono water list. Now, is it good enough to make the cut? I honestly don't know. I would want to test it before giving it any kind of say that way. But even just having a 2,000 power swing, which would not be hard at all with this card in a mono water list, seems like it could be a decent amount. It's only a 3/5, but when it's going to be blocking on your opponent's turn is where you want it to be anyways. It's probably good enough. So I think this is a very interesting rare that we'll probably see play in some list. I'm just not sure what list that's going to be. If it is only mono water, sure, maybe it's in some other decks as well.
It's worth noting that if you read it, it seems like the power reduction is permanent, but it's not. It's just a misprint.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be really good, I think. I'm not a huge fan because I like cards like Gapal only see minimal play, and Gapal does a much better job at what Cagnazzo wants to do.
Sure.
Usually it'll be a bigger swing, and it's a bigger body as well. So I think it will see play in the Archfiend deck, if that's a thing, but I don't particularly like it in mono water. But I think if there's one card in water that I could be wrong about, it's Cagnazzo. I haven't actually had it in a deck, but just looking at it, it doesn't seem like it would affect that much to play.
Fair enough. Guido, I believe is how you say that, is a card that's been having a good amount of discussion around it. Dare I say controversy, because in Opus 3 there are just an enormous amount of 5-drops and 6-drops that want to be played. So how good this card is can also depend on that. But the biggest drawback is that it doesn't activate during your turn, so you have to pay 4 really to get this effect. 5, I guess technically, if you want to activate it. So it just seems like it's way too much. And sure, there's some really cute things you can do where if they have a 5-drop, you can bounce it, you could attack them. They have to then mill that card, take that card to damage. So it's removal that way. But I think with the backup slots that Water has, it's just too tight to try to make that work right now. But again, if we had a sideboard, I could certainly see an argument for it. But I think as it stands right now, and it really is a shame that it's a hero card. I just don't see this card seeing any play, but it could certainly see play down the road if we get to like a 5-drop meta that somewhere down the line. But right now it's going to be getting a pass for me.
I think now is probably the biggest 5-drop meta we have or we've ever had, and even then this card is not good enough. I'm kind of expecting this card to be the new Emperor of Controversy. For Opus 3, but I can't see why people look at it and think this will be useful, because you're basically taking your whole turn off backups to do the effect, and the effect isn't even that great. Sure, it's strong, but it's situational anyway, and if you're taking your whole turn off of backups to do this, then you're not developing the board anyway. Sure, you're taking something off the board, but equally you could have just developed, or you could have just done something else. And that's if you're using the ability. If you're not using the ability, then you're just down a backup the whole game.
Yep.
So it's a massive pass on me. I wouldn't even play this in a sideboard, I don't think. There are just better effects to deal with 5-drops in the game.
Fair enough. A quick note, I think the card that's going to be the Emperor of Controversy is absolutely going to be Exteth, the legendary one from Opus 3. Because I know Russell, so again, shout out to Russell on that one, was trying to get some discussion going about why it was a good card. And he messaged me and we had talked about privately, like, yeah, in Mono Lightning is probably fine, and I wouldn't play any other deck unless it's still Lightning focused. And it's won a 18-player box event so far, and then Bannon posted a list this morning. I didn't figure out where it was from, but he posted another Mono Lightning list that ran it, and I think that a lot of people are finally going to start coming to the light on that one. So again, huge shout out to Russell for calling that one.
I'll be surprised if XDEF is controversial, because the card is absolutely bonkers. It's nuts.
Did you
Yeah.
miss that day in the TCG fans group? I mean, it was really bad.
I didn't see it, no, but I think that's before people realized that they like actually played it and they realized that it breaks everything, even your backups. It's like Khan Ultimate. It's insane. I don't know why anyone would think that's bad. And as soon as people get Grand Crossed once, they'll realize how good the card is.
I mean, it does cost a lot. I get it, but it's certainly a good effect. So I'm expecting more people to get on the Mono Lightning train, and I mean, again, we have so many X stuff that we can use for it, so it's not like it's gonna be that difficult to get off.
Yeah.
Good God, it is. So I had to look myself because I completely forgot. It is characters. Holy,
Yeah.
woo!
Yeah, it won at my locals on Thursday, Mono Lightning.
Good God.
And the biggest way that he won was by decking people out because he would just Grand Cross like towards the end of the mid game, and then they just had no way of winning. So he would just keep passing the turn just to irritate them.
That wow. All right, there you go. Live review of a card.
Well, different set.
Right. So we'll definitely cover that more at in our lightning video. Up next we have Quatro Queen. More World of Final Fantasy, so I'll give it a plus on that one, which I still have to get around to playing that game. Choose a forward gains plus 1,000 power for each forward you control until end of the turn. I love this effect in water because you are often a deck that wants to flood the field anyways, so I will gladly take more buff effects in water. Now, does this make the cut? I would have to go back and actually figure out what the new water lineup looks. But I can 100% guarantee you this is going to see some play in some list during Opus 3.
It's really good in Water Wind. The only issue with the card is that, at least in my meta, loads of people are running board wipes. So it's often not very good to have lots of things on the board anyway. You want like 2 things on the board is a good place because then you can choose what gets fanfred. But that's a meta thing. The card is actually really strong. And in this game, I really like having effects that combat tricks that your opponent can see, because it means they can never really block or attack you because you just use it. And especially if you're playing Water Wind as well, you can Fanfor to untap this as well, which would be really good. So I think the card's really good, and I think it's probably just a one-of in a lot of lists because it is quite costly to get on the field, and there are just a lot of good backups that you want to play it as well. But it's definitely very good, and I can seeing it play for sure.
Well, speaking of blue mages and chefs, a card that's certainly just going to drop off now, and I don't. It was fun to play in the Final Fantasy IX starter when we had the ability to just sit on like a 10, 11, 12k attacker, but I just don't think that this effect is good enough anymore. Someone might find a use for Eat, because again, we do have multiple ways to tutor up 9 characters. Well, forwards I should specify. So you're have a much easier time to get this S effect to work, but I just don't think that this card's going to make the cut in this new meta.
Yeah, actually, you just made me realize that none of the Final Fantasy IX cards, except for Quina, have an S. And that's probably a really good thing.
Yeah.
Because how easy it is to search the
That was intentional. I promise you that was intentional.
Yeah. That's the first time I thought of that. It's a shame that, because it's Quina and Vivi have S's, and it's a shame that Quina is kind of bad. And the S is hard to use anyway, right? Because he has to have taken damage.
I mean, Vivi's S is pretty hard to use too.
Yeah, because Vivi dies. But yeah, no, Quina is not great. Don't play Quina. That's all I can say.
Fair enough. Moving on. 4-drop Summoner. We kind of already talked about this. I think it's fine as a one of in a lot of lists. I would love to get back another Fanfor because why not? So
it's a better version of Aiko,
right?
In my opinion.
So I guess we both agree on that. We both agree that it's it's a fairly solid card. How many would you run this in all your water decks, and how many would you run? Because I think, in my opinion, I'd only give it a spot as a one of, because you're so tight on backups as is.
Well, yeah, the answer is you are very tight on backups, and I'm just having a look now at my mono water deck that specializes in Garnet, and that doesn't even run it, and I'm running like 18 summons, so I think the card is good, and I don't dislike the card in any way. It's just that you are tight on summons, and it's a 4-drop, and it's quite heavy. If it was an EX burst, I would definitely play it, and I'd probably play 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's just it's a little bit too costly, and there aren't too many summons that just win you the game if you can do them. Like the next card we talk about, that might be a card that you definitely want to get back, but then that is a very resource heavy turn, like couple of turns that you're doing. So I'm not sure. I like the card though.
I will also say it's worth probably noting some kind of Earth water list, because you have Rydia, you have the is it a 2-drop backup summoner you can break? There's another summoner that lets you play a summon card. I think it's 6 or less for 2 Earth. I forget what the exact conditions are. So maybe there's something like in an Earth water summon. It's even more toolboxy, I guess I should say, kind of build. But outside of that, I'm not too sure. Again, I do like it as kind of a one-of just in case, but I haven't actually had the chance to sit down yet with some decks, so we'll see if it makes a cut. Up next, and for my hero pick, and I just love everything about this card, and maybe just because I immediately think about it as a 5-drop, but Super Leviathan, as I call it, Soul Draw. You get to bounce 2 of your opponent's forwards back to their hand. It's probably only a 2 of, because you never necessarily want to see it early. It's probably more of a mid to late game thing, but I absolutely love this card, and I will play it in every water-based deck that I play.
I'm way more down on this card than other people. I do like it in certain situations, but I feel like the only time that I'd be happy to cast this is if I win off it. With that in mind, I only play it as a one-of in my summon deck, and I didn't play it at all in the 11 forward deck that had 22 summons. I just would prefer to play Leviathan over this card. So the only time I run this card is if I am already running 3 Leviathan. And then if I'm running 3 Leviathan and I feel like I need more bounce effects, I need to ask myself, why is that the case? I think it's a really good finisher, but you are spending, let's say 5, because let's be honest, it will be 5. You are spending 5 CP to not do much other than you're bouncing 2 things, but you're not actually getting rid of 2 things. Your opponent still has those in hand. And giving your opponent 2 cards could mean the difference between, like, as opposed to giving them 1, could mean the difference between him being able to discard 2 to play Odin or something, you know? So you've actually got to think about that. When you bounce the cards, you're adding 2 cards to your opponent's hand. That changes what you play around a lot.
Right.
And it's not an EX burst, so it actually is a dead card if you draw it before you've got 3 backups at least. A lot of the time. It's not a defensive card. If you use this when you're on the defense,
I mean, you probably lost already at that point.
Yeah, you're already losing. So it's only good on offense, or at least on an even board. So that's why I like playing it as a one-off, and then just hope I see it late game, or hope I can search for it late game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes back down to for me. It's like, I know I will want to see this mid to late game, and that's why I think 2 of. I mean, I definitely just don't think it's a 0. I guess that's my ending point, because I know some people were turned off by it due to the cost, but it is. I'm going to stick to 2 of just because the numbers hate me, and if I play a 1 of, somehow it always goes to damage, and it's the most tilting thing ever. But I think you might be right. It might just be better suited as a 1 of and taking it from there. But I promise you it will see play for all of Opus 3 in some form or another. I will guarantee that. So when we do when we have to do the review of the review videos, if we get around to those, we'll see how wrong I am, right or wrong.
Yeah, I'm very willing to accept that I am way more down on the card than everyone else. But if I only have 9 spots for summons, I'm playing mono water, because if I'm playing another element as well, that's a whole other thing I have to think about. But if I'm playing only 9 water summons, it's going to be 3 Leviathan, 3 Fanfor, and 3 Cthulhu. That's still just doesn't get mentioned there for me. So I like it if you're running 10 summons, sure.
So a card I think we're going to both agree on that is just not going to get a lot of love is one drop White Mage. It does reduce its own damage received. So I note there the effect counts for both itself and then if it forms a party. So it's cute. If we ever make party attacking a thing, which we haven't yet, and I'm not sure that we will. I'm sorry, party attack based effects really. Until then, I think this card just gets a pass for me.
Yeah, that's it. I don't have anything to say.
Steiner, I think we've talked about this card quite a bit already. I wish they would have given us some different artworks to choose from, but it is what it is. It matches Vivi, I guess, so that's cool. But yeah, this card is just insane. It's good in the Knights deck. It's good in just a Final Fantasy IX value deck. Like this card does a lot of work, and I again fully expect this card to continue to see play throughout Opus 3.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like this card is probably the MVP of the whole of Opus 3, right? It's probably going to be the most played card in Opus 3, and because everyone that plays the Final Fantasy IX package plays 3 Steiner, but they might not play 3 Zazan or 3 Aiko.
Yep.
But for such a well-played card, it doesn't even look broken. Do you know what I mean? It's not our Cid combo. It's just often a 7k 5-drop that searches for something as an EX burst. But it searches for so much. It's just so versatile, and it's the same as Zidane. Zidane is so versatile, and you never hate drawing it. You never hate seeing it in your break zone. You don't care if it dies. It's just really good, and it's really hard to explain why as an analysis.
Well,
other than it does everything.
I mean, the two biggest things it has going for it is obviously it's an EX burst, which anytime that I see this flip off the top, I am just like, all right, we're going for it. And then the fact that it searches for a character, I still think it would see play if it only searched for a forward, but having that additional type of card that you can search for, I think is just really what pushes it kind of over the edge. Again, not saying that it's necessarily like broken or needs a ban or anything like that. It's just such a good value card.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's just interesting how you go from the most played Opus 2 card, which was Al Cid probably, which did seem broken. It did read as it seemed broken, but then this is arguably better. It's just it's an interesting mix, is all I was saying.
Now we have a card that I forget if we were talking about this or maybe I was talking to Josepher about it, but I really want Theodore to be a good card, and it might just not be, but the initial impressions that I got from people who said that this card, they're trying to make it work, that it's basically unplayable, which breaks my heart to hear. Have you done any testing with this, Jamie?
Yes, and I've determined that the bad Opus 1 Tidus, or Tidus, is better than this card.
Oh, God.
Because they kind of do similar things. And I'm not saying that the bad Opus 1 Tidus is bad in a mono water deck, because in a mono water deck, you're giving all your forwards 1k when it attacks. And this is kind of what Theodore wants to do. It wants to give them things that benefit them, but it means you have to play something every turn and overextend, and then it's not even giving it to all your forwards. The effect is too hard to do multiple times, and the effect isn't strong enough either. So, and I've spoken to a lot of players about this, and everyone that's wanted to put this in their deck in a mono water deck has then just put Tidus in their deck instead, the one that gives a 1k. So I really like the way they're going with a card like this, but I think rightly so, they were very cautious. They wanted to see how something like this would work. So it's not great, but maybe they'll keep doing effects like this.
I hope they do, but again, it will be something that's difficult to balance. I do get that, but I also just really like the artwork on it, so I think it's going to make a really nice foil, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Oh, this is the knight that you were talking about.
Yep.
two drop 3k knight. Before we were recording, we were talking about this because we'll get to Lenna in a bit. For each backup you control, knight gains plus 1,000 power. So if you're playing Waka backup and same amount of water, it automatically becomes a 2-drop 5 with that in field, and then just has the ability to be a powerful forward, kind of in the late game. Where would you rate this card, Jamie?
This is my favorite uncommon. Sorry, uncommon. Favorite common in water. It's a powerhouse. You don't need to play mono water. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say water backup. It just says backup.
True,
So
true.
it's just a really nice card. I don't know how much I'd play it without Lenna, but it is really, really strong. And if you've got 5 backups, this is a 2-drop 9k with if you have, you know, like a whacker or something like that. Even a 2-drop 8k, that's probably the best conversion rate in the game, right?
I really like it in the standard units list for what it's worth because you wanted a 2-drop anyways. So kudos on
Yeah.
that.
But we'll talk about this more with Lenna, but you can have 3 backups, discard Knight, play Lenna, get Knight, and then it's a 6k. You're getting a 7k and a 6k for 3 mana. And the 6k grows. So I think Knight's really strong, and whenever I've played it, my opponents have wanted to remove Knight over everything because Knight's actually the biggest thing in my mono water deck.
Interesting.
Always. The highest I have other than that is a 7k unbuffed, whereas this can get to 8k unbuffed. So I really like it. I think it's a big beefy guy, and it's cheap, and it's exactly what water wants.
All right, I guess we're gonna have to go back and look at the the standard unit list that top 4 of the 111 player Japan event or whatever it was towards the end of Opus 2, and see if we can update that list. So that might just be one of the first videos we do for Opus 3 because I know everyone loves standard units. So yeah, I think this will absolutely see play in that list. And man, I was completely underrating this card, I'll admit. So I'll have to revisit this one myself when we get some cards.
It's the sort of card that you look at and you just don't even bother reading the effect, right? Because you just think 2-drop 3k, whatever, don't care. And I think someone needs to tell you that it's good before you realize.
It's one of those
But
things
it's
you
good.
just need to test, really.
Yeah.
Up then we have Poram, which again, just beautiful artwork on these cards. And I want to love the effect because it's not something that water has normally, but and the special is pretty strong as well. So I'm not convinced that this will see play, but I can definitely see some decks that would want this card. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this ends up becoming something.
I think for a card like this, because it's underpowered, right, in terms of power
Right.
level. For a card like this to be good, you want to be making use of both the special and the ability when it enters. And the special, I think you'll always make use of that. That's a good special. It's a very powerful special, actually. Now, what forwards want to be active? I'm trying to think of, like, Amon, for instance, would be very good. Is there anything else you can think of?
Not particularly. It's just nice to be able to leave your team up for defense, like try to swing all out and then play this.
Yeah, sure.
But
I mean, I think this definitely goes in a water fire Poram Palom list, but I don't. I was seeing people put it in mono water and people put it in wind water, and I'm not really sure. I prefer other effects to do what that does.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't put it in Wind Water where we have Oracle or whatever
Yeah,
the broken,
exactly.
whatever our pseudo legendary backup
Yeah,
is. But yeah, I think this is gonna find room somewhere. I'm just not exactly sure where that is yet. Mog from the starter deck. Really don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Cool with Aiko. It's another bounce effect if you want another bounce effect. Actually, you might be able to answer this. Is this card still going to see play given the new backups that we got with Opus 3? Or do you think that this one kind of fell off more to the side?
I think it's just good enough as a one-off if you're running the 9 package. Because you can mainly because you can search for it and discard it to Blazer down. Some
Poor Mog!
card. But there's nothing wrong with having a card that is situationally useful, and this card is situationally useful in 2 different ways that don't actually relate to each other, which is good. And when it's not situationally useful, you just can search for it freely with loads of effects and discard it for mana. So I think it's just good enough, and it's weird. I really want to have 2 of them in my deck because I want to be able to search for 1 to discard and search for 1 to play, but I haven't found the room. But it's actually grown on me more now that Opus 3 is released. When Opus 2 was out, but the starter decks were out, I didn't like the card at all, and I didn't play it. Now, I have put this card in my deck over Minwu.
Bold.
So, it's an interesting one. I think it's the sort of thing that people need to play to realize the flexibility of Steiner is really nice. To have some cards that maybe not aren't as good as your others, but when they're powerful enough. If not, great. They can be a fan for it.
Yep, I'll take it. Keep forgetting this is a card. Famed Mimic Go-Go. I mean, it's a 1-drop 7K, so I'm going to give it that. But I'm just not sure how versatile that this card, or how much this card is going to get played. Have you done any testing with this yet, Jamie?
Yeah, but I want to hear what you say before I say things.
Sure. So there are going to be some instances where, and I forget what the card was. There's an Earth backup that you can combo with it that deals 1,000 damage to all forwards. So there's some ways to get the effect to work. I'm just not convinced that it's worth it yet. I think we just need more like ping the board based effects to get power hit to really work. So I want to love this card, but it gets a pass for me, at least initially.
Right. So for me, this is actually my favorite hero in Water, because it's weird because you said that it may not be worth it, but what are you determining as worth? A card or the 1 CP? Because 1 CP, I'm happy for a 7K for 1 CP, an 8K in most decks, because you're going to be running Whacker. So I'm more than happy to be playing this for 1 CP, and I don't really care if it dies, so I don't even care that it has a special, because if it dies, I'll just play another one practically for free. If I do use the special, it's just such a slap in the face to my opponent. So you can just play this card and attack with it, and your opponent just has to think: do I block this? Can I attack into a 1-drop that can kill my forward and live? I don't even know, because you have Cthulhu, you have Cyclops, you have lots of ways to make this win a trade. 7K is nothing to joke at in this meta, because a lot of things are 7-8K. So yeah, I really, really like it, and I don't even think that the downside is that much of a downside, because you attack with this first, or you block with this first every time there's a combat, and you don't care if it dies ever. Because it's a 1-drop.
So
it's a really great Lenna hit as well. I think the only reason this card is an ultra have to play in every Water deck is because Knight exists, and Knight's probably a bit better. But situationally so. It depends. Like there will be decks that don't necessarily get to 5 backups quickly, where Fame and Go-Go will be 100 times better than Knight. But most of the time, Knight's probably better. But why not play a 2-drop 9K and a 1-drop 8K in your deck? Especially when you have a legendary that plays them back from the break zone. So I like it. I think it's really good.
Well, my initial thought behind it was that you really want to have Belias or something, and I completely just blanked on Cyclops because I haven't been playing a lot of Water Lightning. Yeah, so in that regard, it's fine, but I'm not sold on it as a 1/7. I always want to pair it up with something else. So yeah, chances are you have such a cheap investment that it's fine. But it also comes down to the card deck space for it. So again, I could just be terribly wrong, but I think this is going to be best in decks where you have some kind of either combat trick or you have ways to just buff it.
Yeah, which most Water decks have, even just with Cthulhu.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not necessarily what you want. I mean, unless you get some insane target on their end for it, sure. Because then in a perfect world, you could impure something, Mimic lives, and then power hit something else. Both eat and this are free, so whichever. Power hit for free. So yeah, that I can see that happening, but maybe Water Lightning is the best place for it then. Anyway.
I think best place for it is a deck that runs Water, if I'm honest. The most forwards in the meta that I'm seeing are 7 to 8K power. So this actually just stands toe to toe with most of them. It's really strong. And like I said, even if it dies, even if it doesn't necessarily win a combat, your opponent's always really scared to be blocking or attacking into it, because if you do have that combat trick, if you do have that Cthulane, that Cyclops, that Titan, that Belias, every element has something, or even a Valfor or something, and they lose their 4-drop into your 1-drop. That's really bad. That's just such a huge tempo swing, and then next turn you just play the 1-drop again. I just think, especially if you're running Lenna, this card is a almost must play. But that's my opinion. I could just be really wrong.
Okay, so to take this back, how many copies of this card are you playing in a water deck? Any water deck?
At the moment, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite now. At the moment, in my 15 forward deck, I'm not playing any copies of this. But that's because I'm having 15 forwards, and 12 of them are Final Fantasy IX forwards, and I just don't have the room for it. If I was playing mono water with more traditional, I would run 3. If I was playing wind water, absolutely run 3. I took Whacker out, 3 Whacker for 3 Fame Mimic Go-Go, and Fame Mimic Go-Go was infinitely better.
Interesting. All right, maybe this is the most controversial card of Opus 3.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm kind of excited to get my hands on some cards now. Yeah, I don't know. Matt and I were talking about it just for a fire water, and that's kind of like the instant place that we went. But yeah, we'll see. But let's move on from that. So up next, then we have Leonora, tutor for Poram and Poram. I mean, it's an EX burst, so it's just fine. I don't have a lot to say about it. If you're playing Poram and Poram, you're playing 3 of this card anyways, because it's an EX burst. So I think that's a fairly straightforward take on it.
It's possible you even play. I mean, probably not now, but if you're playing water something else and there's a really good Poram, I wouldn't mind playing it. It's, an EX burst that searches is never a joke. So I think it's a card that you should always think about, especially when new sets are released and Porams are released. But now I'm not too fan of any Porams that much. So
well, the water fire might be something, because the new Pelham. Wait. Yeah, I always get them backwards now. The new red card. Why do they have to be named the same bloody thing? The meteor and the deal 1,000 damage increased. I do like this in a water fire list, but outside of that, I'm not sold on it. Anyway, any way to get our special effects to be used more reliably, I can be all for that, and the fact that it's an EX burst. Is that special effect good enough? Now that's yet to be determined, but we'll see where that ends up. And then a card that I just completely wrote off at first, but now it's really starting to grow on me, and I almost wish we had a tutor for it just so we could get the effect more reliably, is Lenna. And so my first thought was getting back the Imperial Summoner just to be able to stack another card, and now you're making the Go-Go grow on me. So I think it's going to be interesting. Like, I really just want to break the special from someone who's played like Reanimator and Magic and what have you. I'm very much looking forward to seeing if Arise can come out to be anything significant.
Well, it will be. It will be very good, I think. So, thing is, water is probably the strongest element now, I'd say, especially since it can combo. It can be the splash, or it can be the main. And it goes with every element. You can play water earth, you can play water fire, water wind, water lightning. It all goes. Water ice as well. So every good forward in the game can be brought back by this. And what makes cards with specials really good are when you don't mind if you can use the special or play the card again if it dies. And this is what Lenna is. If Lenna dies, you don't care, because you can play another Lenna, and that's just as good. Or if Lenna doesn't die, you're really happy to use Arise, and you can get back a Garnet, or you can get back what other things are good in water? I don't even know.
Well, see, so that's the thing. Like, it's mostly going to be used in a kind of an off-color situation, which I'm trying to think of like what the best thing to get back is, and I'm not going to say Golbez, damn it. You're probably milling yourself out at that point, but And it's expensive. So the other thing we have to note is that it is for water, so that is going to be a little bit difficult to get back. But really, even getting back like an Emperor Zande, if you're playing Fire or Water, just to be able to threaten that like 9k break again, it is certainly not terrible. So I'm sure that if we go back through the targets and whatnot, there's going to be a number of valuable forwards that we can get back that you don't mind having to spend as much as you are for the special.
Well, you're only paying 6 for it, which isn't too bad. You know, I've got back Zidane with this, and then you're only paying 4. It doesn't. I'm never too unhappy about getting something back because that's a card that you're not having to draw. Because at the moment in Water, your biggest issue of losing is being decked out. I feel I've actually only lost in the last 2 weeks of having Opus 3 playing Water by just simply running out of threats. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I've only lost silly because of that. I'll look at my breaks and I realize actually I have no more ways to kill you, and Lenna allows you to kill them with other ways. So I like it, and it's like I said though. The main thing about it is you're happy for her to die, and you're happy for her not to die. Is it her? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, it's weird because in a lot of mono water decks nowadays, the best target to use a Rise for might be Knight, which is a bit crazy. The 2-drop.
What world do we live in? This is all right.
Think about you want a big dude to bring back with this, right?
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Rise will get better and better as more forwards come out, and it's probably much better in a non-mono water thing.
Right. So that's the point I was trying to make. That you want to, in my opinion, this is best going to be mixed with a different element. But then you have to consider that you're discarding, well, effectively 3 water cards, or you're playing a very water-heavy base deck, which, okay, so to that point, you're discarding 6 CP. Maybe you're getting a 6 CP back. You basically just treat it like you're summoning it. But it is very heavy on the water cost to make it happen. So I could often see it's, you're spending 2 water backups, discarding a water card, then discarding a Lenna to make it happen. But I think if you're getting back something that's going to provide that advantage, or something that's going to interact with your opponent's field right away, then absolutely all for it.
Yeah, and for instance, in my deck, if I've run out of garnets, I probably can't win anymore. But if I use a Rise and bring back a garnet, I now am back to winning. So I may not be getting my full CP value from it, but I'm winning the game because of it. So I'm okay with that trade-off.
I don't mind getting back a Cloud of Darkness actually either, now that I think about it, because like if you play it early and maybe your opponent forgets that it's in your break zone or something, which play mistakes happen, and I've won games or topped events on less silly ones, but yes, it has to be on your turn, but it could be a way just to have another Cloud of Darkness, so you can run pseudo run 2 of them in a deck. Now that's not going to be as consistent, but it just gives you that more toolboxy effect out of your break zone for the late game. So Lenna is growing on me, and maybe I wrote off Knight, so that's why I rated this card a lot lower initially. But I think this is a card that's just going to get better as we get more sets. I'm not sold on it right away, but I could just be terribly wrong, and I really hope I'm wrong, because this is probably one of my favorite specials in the game currently, just being honest. So I will be looking at a way to get the most out of that. Again, not having a tutor I think is the biggest drawback to it, but we are playing Water where we have a lot of draw or search effects anyway, so you're going to be deck thinning. Yes, it doesn't help you put the card right into your hand, but it does help you draw the card sooner than you would otherwise. So
it actually does have 2 tutors as well. It has the Wind 3-drop backup that has an EX burst that searches for it, and it has Faris, which is the 5-drop fire card that searches for it as well.
Oh, I forgot about Faris. Yeah. So Fire Water, we did it.
Yeah.
Sorry for headphones users. Oh hell yeah, I'm excited now. No, yeah, the other EX burst is just trash. But Faris is love. Awesome. All right, I know what I'm really excited for about. Yeah, again, sorry everyone for that. Seeing the light kind of revelation, but I would like a non 5-drop tutor but I'll take it. Whatever. Fire water. We're going to do it. So moving on then, now that we kind of gushed all over that, I'm going to have my picks. So, and Jamie, feel free to chip in for yours. For Legend, I picked Garnet only because we have so many different tutors for it. And it's just so easy to get this card, and I think the effect is only going to get better over time. So I think Garnet is just going to see more play overall. And then for Hero, I picked Sildra. And again, this might be just because I wanted to see more play, and the heroes were just kind of off really for this element. But I ended up giving it to that because I can definitely see myself playing 1 to 2 in probably every water deck that I have.
For Legend, I'm picking Garnet purely because it's my favorite card, but I think realistically Lenna's going to see more play. And then for Hero, I picked Fame and McGogo because I think I've already said how much I like that card.
Yeah, and I can just speak again. I might be completely off my rocker on that, so we will. Yeah, I mean, I'll just eat my words on that one. I'll build a deck immediately with it and see how it goes.
Yeah, it's one of those just see how it feels kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And then for Rare and Common, I really shouldn't have to say much more about these two. Fanfor and Inferior Summoner, because I just love being able to tutor up, any of the summons in my deck, basically. And the 4K is not terrible by any means.
Yeah, Fanfor for sure. I think everyone can agree on that. And then for me, it's either Inferior Summoner or Knight. They're both very good. And you're probably playing both anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah, like the more I think about this, the more I just really like Lenna, because it gets both. It gets back either of those name targets. You're either going to get back a really beefy guy that your opponent's going to have a hard time to interact with, or you're going to get back a Imperial Summoner to tutor up whatever it is that you need. Maybe you need a Leviathan to win. Maybe you want a Fanfor to remove a problematic blocker. What have you? So
Sildra next turn.
What's that?
Oh, you can't search Sildra.
No, you can't. That is the one thing that I'm really, really salty about. You can't. Which is the other reason why I want to run 2 of it, but we'll see. All right, any last thoughts on the water set, Jamie, before we wrap this up?
No, I think water's really strong, and I've been playing it almost exclusively since Opus 3 came out. Really excited for it, hoping that people don't realize how good it is, so I can keep playing it.
Well, I guess that makes you the water boy of Opus 3. And I would not be upset because I really been wanting water to be a thing. And again, we have nationals here in a bit, so I mean, I'll play whatever I think is the best deck at that time period. But I like to win with water, just because it's something that hasn't gotten a lot of love lately, and then suddenly I think got a enormous uptick in good cards with this last set.
Yeah, there are some cards that are going to be meta changing, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. So guys, that is all we have for this video. Thank you again to Jamie for joining me. If you like this, make sure to drop us a like or comment down below what your favorite Opus 3 water card is. And make sure, as always, to subscribe for more Final Fantasy trading card game content. So until next time, guys, have a good one, and we'll catch you in the next 6 Sages Gaming video. Take care. This video made possible by the patron support of viewers such as yourself. Thank you to our honorary sages.